Good afternoon. It's Thursday, October 20th, and welcome Tech Tips Live this month. We have an exciting topic. We're going to give you all a sneak peek into our newest member of the GainSeeker family. GS Essential is a cloud native SPC software product that we will be debuting in January. Jacob Shetler, who is the head of the project and head of our software development, will be here today to talk a little bit about that. And so we're going to go over that product. And like I said, it's really a sneak peek. We're still actively working on things. We have it at test sites right now, and we're so far really pleased with the results that we have seen from some of the people who have tried this out. So we're going to talk just a little bit about the manufacturing technology landscape. I'm going to share some there. Jacob's going to tell us a little bit about some of the things that really they were looking at as they built the product, and then he's going to show the essential product a little bit, and then we'll talk a little bit about our early access program if any of you perhaps want to get a chance to test it out. So go ahead and next slide, Jacob. One of the things that we have really come to understand in the last few years is that the future of technology and manufacturing is hybrid. Okay, Phil, what exactly does that mean? It means that it is really broad, and we fully expect that we're going to have clients from kind of the very traditional client server GainSeeker on-prem all the way to people using our GS product completely native in the cloud with no local infrastructure beyond, just some PCs or things like that, and everything in between. And right now we even have that. We have an option where clients can run GainSeeker in kind of what we call the lift and shift format. We have a hosting partner, V2, that we use for that. Some of our clients have also taken GainSeeker and put it into their own Azure or AWS cloud instances and are hosting it there themselves. They have centralized things. We also have some people where maybe they don't have on-prem at every plant locations, but they have a centralized data center for a corporation. Although we are seeing some of those centralized data centers go to the wayside and companies moving to the cloud, because it is so cost effective and the amount of resources there are infinite. So we see this hybrid world, and we are going to, as Hertzler Systems, work to support clients across that whole spectrum. And so the GS offerings are a part of that, of moving to a cloud native and really a completely new structure, and we'll start talking about that today. I touched on a little bit, we're seeing the centralization and outsourcing of technology support staff. No longer is there an IT person, say, in every factory. We maybe have been away from that for a while, but that doesn't exist anymore. And so this is driving the centralization of a lot of applications. They want to have security. The irony there is a lot of our, our clients that have been hacked, it's often been to the local infrastructure. An email that shouldn't have been opened or some things like that. The cloud really does offer some really high level security, and we'll talk some about that. Total cost of ownership. We are also seeing a lot of companies where an old, say, Windows Server 2012, 2016, those are ready to be phased out. Or kind of running on their last fumes. And as companies are looking at that, they're thinking, oh, do I really want to spend the cash on outlay for a new server, or do we want to just shift things to the cloud? And we see that pushing things to the cloud. And finally, before the next slide, on this slide anyway, the shop floor is a mix of solutions. It still is, and it will be. And so kind of with that hybrid idea, we still need a lot of different solutions that can connect and get data and grab data from a lot of things. There still are different ERP systems, MES, QMS, not to mention all of the PLCs and those types of networks that we're going to be talking to. And that's something that our company has always excelled at, and we will continue to excel at. Next slide, Jacob. We're also seeing demands in the manufacturing world of operators coming from diverse backgrounds. A lot of languages spoken on shop floors beyond English. And it's always interesting as we talk to clients and we ask them that question of, oh, okay, so, if we could have any language, what would it be? And it's interesting to sometimes hear these little pockets. And obviously there's a lot of Spanish out there. We have French, even for some of our Canadian customers and things like that, but then a lot of Vietnamese, or it runs the whole gamut. And I think all of you have probably experienced that. Again, some of these things are driving technology. Operators, though, they are more comfortable with technology. They have cell phones, they're digital natives. And so we see some benefit there of moving to a more cloud-centric type of a lineup. People are used to that. They, who reads a manual anymore, right? Last time you got a new phone, did you read the manual? Probably not. You just kind of figured it out as you went. Companies, knowledge retention, and in some ways that's code for turnover. We continue to see that challenge for a lot of companies. You may have a number of employees that are long tenured, but then you've got another 40 or 50 or 60% of your workforce that just turns over constantly. We want to have easy to use products, easy to use software that those people, you can have systems that go well so a new person can step in, do some data entry, get some analysis, and keep going. And we all know that flexible manufacturing is a goal. And flexible manufacturing means, in our instance a lot, having the ability to quickly add new products or change things or change the way the pipes are connected, the data pipes are connected. And so again, those are things that we're really concentrating as we look at a new product like this. So that's some of where we're coming from and some of the things we're thinking about. I welcome other comments you may have, even put them in the comments and we can get to those at the end. Welcome to get some of your ideas on what some of the technology landscape is that you're seeing. I know I didn't even go into IoT and all that stuff, but those are some of the big picture things. So Jacob, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you and your team, some of your thought processes and planning that went into the new GS products.
Yeah, so these are some of the design goals that we set out to accomplish when we started working on GS Cloud. The programming for this started almost 2 years ago, and these were some of the design goals that we had laid out with our product management team. So the first one starts from the very beginning of coding the product, setting up resources in the cloud, and that is architecting for availability, performance, and security. We know that internet outages happen, but we want to make our application as resilient as possible. We also know that performance is important for manufacturing. Operators simply don't have time to sit around and wait for a loading screen to happen. They're very busy. We know that analysts are very busy. Quality engineers and managers are in short supply and have a lot on their plate, so performance is important. And obviously security, as Phil talked about. We take security very seriously at Hertzler Systems. Security was a top of mind issue throughout development of this product and continues to be top of mind. We've also done security audits with an outside third-party company that found almost nothing wrong with the product. And so we're very, very happy with how seriously we're taking security with GainSeeker.
And I just would interject. The good news is they did find some things wrong with it because you want you want a security analyst to find some stuff. However, I think the things they said is anything that would happen, any vulnerabilities that could be there would have to be chained with other vulnerabilities and things and was very complimentary of you, Jacob, and your team and the work that you all have done on securing things. It was like, your software is good, here's some things to be aware of, and kudos to you guys for really making those things happen.
Yeah. The next item was make it easy to get started. When you are a desktop GainSeeker customer, you can get presented with some very overwhelming interfaces very quickly. And with GS in the cloud, we wanted to make it really easy to get started. So that includes having an inviting interface, making import and export of things like standards and defects really easy to start with. Creating dynamic inspections without code. This relates to the total cost of ownership that Phil was talking about earlier, with reducing the amount of scripting that needs to happen and the amount of maintenance that you need to think about when adding new products to an existing inspection. So being able to, for example, select a part family and have all of the characteristics for that part automatically appear in an inspection is one of the things that we added in order to accomplish this. The next two items really go hand in hand. One is make a great user experience through ease of use, and the other is bend to our customers' cultures. So these are items that Desktop GainSeeker really excels at. We think especially item 5, bending to our customers' cultures. As Phil was talking about earlier, our customer cultures are ever changing. And with the introduction of international language speakers and high turnover, it's really important that our software is easy to use and easy to pick up, and that it's easy to translate into other languages so people can see it in the language that they're used to. That really shortens the onboarding process for new operators. And lastly, although GS at its core is a statistical process control product with some defect management also built in, we also want to incorporate other predictive and prescriptive analytics. So that includes OEE, trends, looking at cart classifications, and eventually writing AI and ML tools into the software. So up next, I'm going to go through about 6 screenshots or so of GS Essential right now, and talk about some of the design goals and how they're implemented through the product. So this is the homepage. You can see that it's a clean, inviting interface. There's not a lot of extra stuff on the page. It uses navigation that is very common for cloud software. You can also see in the middle that there are quick links to inspections, dashboards, and some of the setup pages where you'll be able to import and export entities to quickly get started in the system. You can also see that there's quick links to training videos and documentation that are currently works in progress, but it really makes it easy to get started using this product. So from the homepage, you can really easily get to the other pages where you can immediately get value out of the system. This is an example of one of the pages where you set up a part. So right here, we're setting up a oak refrigerator. You can see that the name includes both the code for it, so 186.752 FRG, along with the descriptive name, and then also as a description. So some people might be used to seeing, you know, the part number or the part code for this. Others might not be as familiar with those codes and are more likely to use a display name. So I think that also lends to ease of use of the product. These names are changeable, unlike in Desktop GainSeeker. And so as your company evolves, your product and GainSeeker can evolve with it. You can see at the bottom here that we're attaching characteristics to parts. The idea behind this is that on an inspection, you can select a part and then all the characteristics you measure in that part automatically populate. So that leads it to dynamic inspections without code, which is this. If you're used to using Inspection Editor in Desktop GainSeeker, this will look very similar. You can see that we've got a toolbar up at the top and then a canvas in the middle where you can drag and drop tests onto the screen. One major improvement here is that tests can be laid out side by side on top of each other, next to each other. However you want to lay them out, you can do that. You can also resize tests, expand them, or shrink them to fit your needs.
So this really, Jacob,
yeah.
If I could just jump in, since we're not doing a live demo and you're showing just screenshots today, this really is a canvas where you're building, you're dropping controls and putting things on there and adjusting sizes and columns and some of those kinds of things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So you can see across the top that we've got the usual tests that you might be used to when collecting data. You can tag stuff with traceability or process or date time. The second section includes all of the data tests, so SPC, part numbers, pass-fail, defect list rating, OEE. The data canvas is also built into GS Essential, and so you can drop things on top of a part image or part diagram to make it even easier for operators to know what particular part they're measuring and where on that part they're doing the measurement. And then the last items are interactive controls like buttons, files, or charts. We have been really thrilled with the feedback that we've gotten on this part of the software. In our first early access program, or EAP, that I'll talk about a little bit later in this Tech Tips Live, our first EAP that we ran, one of the engineers that we showed this to and we went through setting up an inspection with him was able to train other people in his department at the end of the first day of using GS. So hadn't seen it, for more than a day, but at the end of that first day was able to train other people, explain how to drag and drop controls onto the canvas, resize them, link them to each other. And so we're really, really happy with that feedback. So this is an example of what running that same inspection might look like. So if you remember on the previous page, we were looking at part control and then a cooling check, which is a pass-fail DMS record. And then we have a chart linked to it. So I've already selected the oak refrigerator part here in this example, and you can see that the two tests, inner area and pull strength, have automatically populated based on the part record. This inspection took no coding and did not involve creating any extra tests like you would have to for some people that are used to desktop GainSeeker. The feedback that we've gotten on this from operators has also been overwhelmingly positive. At that same early access program site, operators were able to start using an inspection that was a little more complicated than this after about a minute or two of training. One of those operators had very limited English skills, but was still able to complete the inspection very easily and actually caught on much quicker than the operator that was much better at English. So we think that really demonstrates the ease of use of this product and how great the user experience is. The last screenshot that I have here is a dashboard. You can see up at the top again that this is very similar to the inspection setup page. So we've got SPC, DMS, OEE, task, and accountability data. You can drag and drop these controls around, resize them, reorder them, and end up with a dashboard that looks pretty good with very minimal effort. We are currently working on new visualizations. So this product is pretty new. So the final design goal that we had of adding brand new functionality to analytics is still very much a work in progress. And we will continue to add new analytics and visualizations as we continue to develop this product.
Okay. A couple things like on the data entry, want to point out that RS-232 connectivity is native with the GS Essential. Yep. That part of it is built in as well. And in terms of we're kind of talking about dashboards, and we've kind of changed our language anyway with the GS family versus GainSeeker, and in GS dashboards refers really to all the visualizations, correct, Jacob?
Yeah, that's correct.
So It may just be a particular part for something, or it might be in our current on-prem GainSeeker, what we call a dashboard that maybe is thrown to a monitor on the shop floor or something like that. So we're just calling them all dashboards now.
Yeah.
Getting that a little bit. Yeah. So go ahead, keep on going. We can talk about this a little bit. We are open and available for some more companies if you want to get an early look at the GS product. We have our early access program available, and Jen Miklick is for our TPMs, is the person who's kind of been running this process for us. And we are very keen to have some more clients test it out, give us some feedback on it. As we've talked about here, and you may have picked up, we are on a development journey, and GS Essential is going to be our first release on this. It is not equivalent to the GainSeeker on-prem product, which has been out there for a long time. It will take some time to get there. And so for some of you who are on this TTL today, who are existing customers, it's not a replacement yet. It will be at some point, and we can talk about that or entertain some questions from people. But in the early access program, you get an early look at things, get to test it out. Maybe we can work with you to try a particular inspection and see how that would work in the GS framework versus what you're doing right now in GainSeeker. And like Jacob said there in this slide, we can take some of your input as we look at that roadmap that's going out really a couple years as we look at developing the entire GS family. Did I miss anything, Jacob?
I think that pretty much covered it.
Okay. We've got about 5 minutes left here, so I want to open it up for questions. If you have any, while you think of your questions and put them either in the Q&A or in the chat, just want to note that our next Tech Tips Live is the 17th of November, and we are going to be doing some GainSeeker housekeeping tips. Any system, any program can run and chug along for a long time, but there's also some maintenance and ongoing things you need to do. And a service that we provide for clients is we have a tune-up service that is often kind of helping them clean up and tune their database and maybe work with some of their inspections, kind of clean them up and look at that. And so some of those housekeeping tips, we've learned some things as some of our data scientists are out in the field and what exactly that means. So we'll be sharing that with everybody and give you some ideas of some ongoing maintenance to keep your database running smoothly and keep your inspections and things like that quick and snappy. So that will be our next one. All right. Any questions from anybody in the audience here today? So Jacob, you want to talk maybe just very briefly about with the GS family, where is the data? What kind of a database? This is some current GainSeeker people, and they're very used to kind of like, hey, you've got a SQL database, and maybe you're using Microsoft SQL or Oracle or something like that. What's in the back end of GS?
Yeah, so we are using a type of SQL database that's hosted in the Microsoft Azure cloud, and yep, it's a fully managed database from Microsoft. So they are in charge of the patching and security for that, which I'm very happy to offload to experts at Microsoft rather than trying to take care of that security myself.
Okay. One of the things we talked about in the kind of preview or explanation as we're getting going is that the GS family would be able to bend to processes and things like current GainSeeker does. With current GainSeeker, we have evolved and used Python for doing that. How are we going to do that with the GS family of products? Because Python doesn't work so well in the cloud.
No, Python doesn't work at all in browsers. And so we are switching our scripting language to JavaScript, which is natively supported in all browsers and is the language of the internet. So we are, going to be, you can still extend inspections and eventually dashboards using scripting, and that'll be all in JavaScript.
Okay. All right. So again, since this is current GainSeeker users, they may be wondering, oh, so am I going to have to learn JavaScript or not use Python, or you got to force me to go over to these new GS products? And I'll answer that and say no. We fully intend, as I started out, the future is hybrid, and we're going to be providing solutions to clients across the spectrum. And GainSeeker is not going anyplace. The on-prem product will continue to develop, and we're going to keep using that and have it, highly available for people. And we'll continue to improve that product going out for many years. We expect that to be a long-term project. However, for people that want to switch to the cloud, new clients who are want to be cloud-based, we will go with the GS family. So that might be a question out there on some people's minds. Let's see, we've got somebody typing a question here. While that's coming in, I want to talk just a little bit. So Jacob, you mentioned it. We didn't really say it real specifically, but the GS products will be our browser based. And I don't know if you want to say any more about that.
Yeah, they're going to be in the browser. There's going to be 3 tiers of service. We will have a add-on to the products that allows you to read local files and local databases. That is an application that runs on a desktop. The reason for that is browsers are highly locked out from your desktop, which is a really good thing. Otherwise, malicious sites could read files on your computer or gain access to networked drives. So yeah, it'll be available on all modern browsers. So that includes Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and Google Chrome. We've also tested it on iOS Safari. So if you want to use iPads or tablets, Android tablets, to run GS in the cloud, it works perfectly, and you get pretty much the same experience that you do from using a desktop browser.
Yeah. So with the GS products, initially, you won't be required to download any software. It will be accessed and run through the browser. And then, like Jacob said, doesn't matter what browser you're using, and if you're using on an iPad or on a Mac or on your PC or on a phone, it will all access through the browser. All right, so we've got a question here about Azure SQL limited database sizes limited on 1 terabyte, or kind of a cost threshold there. Mm-hmm. Do you know anything about that, Jacob?
Yeah, just let me read this question again. So the Azure SQL on lower cost levels is limited to 1 terabyte and is much more limited in IOPS, or input output per second. I wonder if you had seen the same. Probably not, as you usually don't see databases that large. Yeah, we are not planning on seeing databases that large like you had written out there. We will plan on splitting out customers into different database servers. So when one database gets close to maximum capacity, we'll spin up another one and shift some customers over. All that stuff, is going to be handled by Hertzler systems. None of that stuff is going to have to be things customers are doing. John also asks, is Azure SQL the backend for Essential? I don't want to answer that question directly because it is somewhat of a security risk to give out exact information about what backend tools we're using to run this product. It is a fully managed Azure database that we're using. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. I understand. And I don't know if, if we could tell John any more directly in something that's not going to be publicly saved and public.
And one of the other developers on this call just messaged me and said that the database service that we are using can handle sizes up to 32 terabytes.
That's a lot of data.
Yes, that's a lot of data.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, I think we are out of time. Thank you, Jacob, for this this preview. We are so excited. We really think that the team has done a great job, and what we have seen so far is just really good returns, strong feedback, very positive feedback. If you want to join the EAPs, talk to us about that program, email Jen. You can always email me or Jacob as well. Hertzler, we're simple. It's our first name at hertzler.com. So thank you, Jacob. Thanks for giving us this preview. Everybody look for the new product coming out in January. Like we said, it is essential. It is a more basic product. And in some ways with the essential, we're going after a little different product, different user base than we've talked to before. But keep watching. The GS family will continue to evolve. And next up after that will be our Premier product, and then Enterprise after that, which the Enterprise will get us much more on an equal footing with our current GainSeeker product. So thanks so much for joining us for Tech Tips Live this month. Hope to see you back here in November.